Hi, I'm Bill Latham. I'm at the University of Miami Law Library for nearly 40 years. I lead disaster preparations and recovery efforts for tropical storm and hurricane force weather that threaten us. These are the cyclone names for the 2020 hurricane season in the Atlantic Ocean, 6 of which have already been used. I just had to update this last night when Faye became a name. This season is supposed to be as busy, as active as the 2005 hurricane season, which gave us hurricanes Katrina, Rita, and Wilma, all of which were Category 5 hurricanes, 2 of which hit us directly. So I just want to say that I believe hurricane preparedness is an all year round situation. It doesn't start in June or end in November. So while there's still time to prepare, so, from the ground level is knowing where the issues already are, what we can do to protect them based on how the building has weathered the storms, not just hurricanes, but typical South Florida weather. This can be actually all the more difficult if you're in a new building, which hasn't been tried by any severe weather. We were in a new building. We had a complete renovation of our library in 1995. This is our new wing. It took 3 years to complete, and it took another 3 years for water to find its way from the roof down onto our international law collection. It's a kind of a recurring issue. It doesn't seem to be resolved. So what we can do at our level, on the ground level, is prepare for it. Is have these plastic sheets already cut to size, tailor-made, and they're laid out right now in case we have to evacuate in case of a hurricane. Rainwater came into one of our rooms from a mechanical room with inside-outside access. No one saw that coming. It nearly threatened this collection here and soaked the carpet. We know where our problems are, where our issues are, where we have leaks, issues that recur, even though sometimes they tell us that they've been resolved. And we go throughout the library, especially when we're being threatened by a hurricane or about to be threatened by a hurricane. And for example, here, we remove books from an area with a room that has floor-to-ceiling windows. We don't want to take any chances with a set like this, which is irreplaceable. In a section like this, we actually remove all the books from the bottom shelves. This is one of our main reading rooms. So, I mean, if you're designing a building in a hurricane-prone area, you probably don't want to build a room with floor-to-ceiling windows that are 60 by 30 foot high. I mean, we also have areas where we were never able to resolve the issue, so we just don't use them if we can afford not to. Preparing our staff, we have an annual training of evacuation duties. Everybody has a duty to perform, like covering the books in plastic, removing books from shelves. And new staff get a full practice run of their duties, which gives them an idea of how long it takes to cover the shelves in plastic or remove books from the shelves. It raises their confidence. It actually reduces stress and provides the opportunity to ask questions. And at these meetings, also staff can volunteer to come in after hours if we're forced to close evenings, weekends. So that helps us. We have a phone tree, basic, that we update annually, or if a new hire comes on board. We have a personnel directory. These are all accessible by all the staff here at the library. Staying out of harm's way. So preparing staff, you can suggest all you can, but if they listen, that's great. Staying out of harm's way means staying off campus. Usually, of course, if the library is closed down, the campus is closed down, and no one's allowed on campus. So if you get it on campus, you'll be escorted off campus. If evacuating, we suggest they plan ahead of time. Of course, staff are strongly suggested to stay out of harm's way and not to go out during the eye of the storm, because it's a lot of people aren't familiar with this. They don't know that the eye of the storm is just the halfway mark of the hurricane. We stress the importance of shopping for home supplies, developing personal evacuation plans, and updating contact information if evacuating. And if you're evacuating, prepare a go bag. All these things are really available online. It's kind of common sense, but now with COVID-19, you want to start early because supplies are already limited. People with yards should clean them up. The time to trim trees is now, before they're laying on the sidewalk and they start becoming flying projectiles. Public transportation. During Hurricane Katrina, we had staff in the building up until the storms started hitting our coast. And it was a tropical storm out there. It became a hurricane before it hit the coast, and it headed south right into Miami. We were still in the building. Trees were falling in the parking lot. And we had staff who were taking the train home. And we didn't know that the train stopped running when it was 39 miles an hour. So that's another thing we know now, but in your area, you might want to find out for your staff. At work, we keep an extra supply of items to recover material, as well as supplies to sustain a team if they're working out of doors, including sunblock, bug repellent, and water. Of course, these days, social distancing might be an issue. So if you have workspace, you might need twice that much workspace to set up an area to reclaim wet material. When we do close communication, we go on we have a PA system, and it goes to all the rooms in our building. We have a speech there just in case someone forgets their lines, or of course there's any kind of technical difficulties. All they need to do is fill in the name of the hurricane and the time we're closing. So we post it on our door in paper. We update our website, and we go on the PA system. This is the sign for hurricane closing after Andrew or before Andrew. It's lately we've actually been putting more information, like our QR code to our website and our telephone number, so that they can get up-to-date information. And the university sends out a lot of information at the start of hurricane season, before hurricane strikes, and which is especially helpful to people, students, staff, and faculty who aren't from here, who aren't familiar with evacuating and preparing for a hurricane. So the university does that for them. When we do close, university crew, grounds crew put sandbags at our door to keep water from coming in. They also put up shutters in some buildings, not some of ours, and they bring in outdoor furniture. We stay in contact with the other university libraries to see how they're doing. So we kind of team up in that way, at least with information-wise. After the storm, no one is allowed back in the building until the university says so. Again, this depends on how well we were prepared before we left. Like after Andrew, we didn't expect it came right before orientation. So we were orientation was postponed for a month. So it depends on the storm. Hurricane Irma wasn't even a hurricane when it hit Miami. It was a tropical storm, but it sat on us for 24 hours. And it was a wet event, which actually did more damage to us than any wind event we've actually experienced. We weren't able to get on campus or get into the building for 5 days, and we didn't reopen for 10 more days. So that's way too long to wait to treat wet books. It only takes 24 to 48 hours for mold to form. This is a picture of the perimeter road. And if we had to get refrigerated trucks, they've had a hard time coming through to get to us. So luckily we didn't need that, thankfully. Staff. We don't know if staff are going to be available after the storm because Hurricane Andrew actually hit us pretty bad, but down south, 40 miles down the road, whole neighborhoods were wiped out. So depending on what your staff is going through, we don't know who's going to be able to come in and help us reopen or save books. So it's all really based on the storm. Reopening could be just as complicated as closing. So if your staff who opens the library isn't available, I suggest you have a map and some really simple directions on how to get the lights on, because in our building, the lights are in different places on every floor. It's a 3-step process to unlock our door and just get the building going so people can come in out of the heat, juice up their iPhones and their laptops. So the first place we check after the storm are the areas we secured before we left. We open up the visqueen that's covering the shelves. We take it off if we can because we don't want people tripping over it, which can happen. And finally, we should reshelve the books that we pulled from the shelves. Supplies, we have a couple React packs, which are all-in-one salvaging kits. And if damage is extensive, the university retains Super Restoration as a company for property restoration. Smaller salvaging jobs can be done in-house. Here I am drawing books that were water damaged. Weather permitting, our rooftop balcony serves as a great staging area for drawing out books. It has full sun exposure, which is great for killing mold or beginning of mold. I would suggest wearing sunglasses because when I went back inside after a break, everything was pink. So,
Bill, I feel you.
What happened?
No, nothing. It's just when you got to the part about having one wall of your library being nothing but windows. My library is 6 stories tall, and we have 2 full walls that are windows, nothing but windows. And it's so much fun.
Are they shuttered?
No.
Oh yeah, right. So
yeah, no, I mean we have blinds on the inside, so it's not super bright, but we don't have shutters at all. And it's taken us 20 years of working with our property services team and with the contractor that built it to finally get it to stop leaking.
Oh my
20
God.
years, y'all. So yeah, good times.
So we have the same issue. Well, of course, they tell us that when it's wet that they can't check it when it's wet, and when it dries, they say, well, we can't find it. So
exactly.
But so quickly, I have to start all over again with the new management.
Right. It takes a long time, but it's quite fun.
We do have a question. The question was asking about Team B. Who are the volunteers and what is their role?
Okay, so Team B are our library staff. They volunteer to come in after the storm, after we have the go ahead to come back in and reopen and start salvaging material. Team B is the one that's more iffy because, of course, we don't know how people have fared in different parts of the city. Basically, they perform the task to get us up and running as much as possible so we can open to the public.